Go to War Fighting Shotgun 2025 edition. If you've ever been told by an outdated, corrupt, geriatric politician to, quote, buy a shotgun, and you sarcastically took their advice, and all of a sudden, miraculously, overnight, you became the most dangerous player in your online PvP server, then go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. Today we're going to be having a serious discussion regarding my recommendations for a go-to-war fighting shotgun. Today we're going to be discussing the philosophy as to when you should choose a shotgun over a rifle and a handgun. We're also going to be discussing the proper ammunition that I recommend that you use, as well as the tactical application and engagement distances that you should be utilizing for your fighting shotgun. If each and every one of you right now hits the like button, that would help out this channel more than you know. It would defeat the algorithm god, and it would be life altering for this channel. Thank you so much for doing that. Additionally, if each and every one of you leaves a combat llama emoji down below and let me know what your shotgun build is, what ammunition choice you're choosing to use, and why you're choosing a shotgun over a rifle, that would be an awesome discussion down below. Keep in mind, this channel does not represent the War Department or the United States Army in any way. So, first thing I want to discuss, when should you choose a shotgun over a rifle? Well, the first thing that always comes up is the legality. Your state or local laws does not authorize you to exercise your Second Amendment rights as you're given as your God-given right, and you're not able to actually defend yourselves with a rifle such as this 20-inch Cold Hammer Forged AR-15. So, fear not, young viewer, because you are in luck, because 12 gauge will not let you down. So the application of use for a shotgun is going to be, write this down, an engagement distance average of 80 meters or in, or you're legally just not authorized to use an AR-15, or the mission set calls for a shotgun. Any of those reasons is perfect, but the average engagement recommendation distance is going to be 80 meters with an asterisk of 120 meters and in. Roughly speaking, the effective range of a slug is going to be roughly 80 meters. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Now, generally speaking, if you're going to choose to run a shotgun, there is a few names that need to come to mind right away. Mossberg, Benelli, or Beretta. I say again, Mossberg, Benelli, or Beretta with an asterisk of old Remington 870s, right? So if you're choosing to get into a fighting shotgun and you're like, what should I use? Should I use this cheapo Turkish shotgun? Absolutely not. If you have a Turkish shotgun, you're probably going to get killed in the sheets, not the streets, but the sheets, and you'll thank me later. So Mossberg, Beretta, Benelli with an asterisk of an old Remington 870, which is what I'm going to show you here in a little bit. But those are the brands that I would recommend. Now, generally speaking, out of all of those, you're looking at a Mossberg 590, A1, or a Remington 870 if you have an old one, a Benelli M4, or the king of them all, the Beretta 1301 from Langdon Tactical, or a Beretta A300 Patrol. And don't worry, I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff, but if you're here and you're like, what do I use? That's what you use. If you have a Turkish shotgun, get rid of it. Do what you're going to do with it and get a reputable, reliable shotgun that's not going to fall apart as you shoot it. And one of the shotguns you're going to see today has been fired 5,000 times with Buckshot, and it is still alive and kicking, and you've seen videos of it recently here on the channel. So, another thing we got to talk about before we get into the actual shotgun, pistols. If you're going to use a shotgun, you must have a pistol. It is a requirement. Why? Why am I saying that? Well, as many of you might know, with a shotgun, for YouTube, you can only have one shell, but generally speaking, you're going to be limited to roughly 6 to 8 shells, depending on the shotgun variant that you're using, right? This is, I believe, 6 plus 1, so that's all you got, right? 6 plus 1 shells. So what's going to happen? This shotgun is clear and safe. What's going to happen is you're going to engage that very last time, right? Okay, boom, out of ammunition. Oh no, what do? I don't have a match saver. Or let's say all these were completely empty and the enemy is within 25 meters and I don't have time, distance, or cover. Well, that is exactly why you are going to need a pistol. A reliable secondary weapon is a requirement for running a shotgun, okay? So that is a major asterisk that I need to cover right away before getting into the actual shotgun. Okay, Now that we've talked about Beretta, Benelli, Mossberg, or an asterisk of Remington, if you have an older, reliable one, we've talked about that you absolutely have to be flagged on the camera and have a reliable secondary weapon that is immediately available for when you get that shotgun out of the way and to get that secondary weapon up. Absolute requirement. Don't argue with me. It's not possible. You need a secondary weapon. A pistol is mandatory. If your primary weapon is a shotgun, well, guess what? You better have that pistol accessible or you're most definitely going to get killed in the sheets. Next thing I want to talk about is ammunition. Not all ammunition is created equally. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things, and you're going to have to bear with me, and you have to listen. You have to actually take notes and pay attention, okay? And I know some of you are time thefting from your boss. Let me know where you're at right now. Are you on the toilet? Are you enjoying a meal? And if you're the spouse that's being forced to listen to this, hey, thanks for hanging out. Leave your combat llama emojis down below, and I apologize for your husband or your boyfriend's shotgun enthusiasm, but it'll be worth his time, trust me. Okay. So what you're seeing here is two different variations of double-aught buckshot. Both of them are 9 pellet, and both of them are technically 2 3/4. But what you're seeing right now is the one on probably your left, right? This one right here. This is a cellular and below 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch buckshot. The one on your right, the red one, that is an American-made double-aught buck. And what you're seeing is the brass is not the same. The brass of the American shell is significantly higher. That is more powder, meaning more power, more velocity for that buckshot. Additionally, if you look at the top, the shells are not crimped the same. This quote 2 3/4 inch shell is going to perform a lot more closely to that of a 3-inch shell as in terms of capacity, i.e. I'm only going to be able to get like 5 of these in when maybe I could get 6 to 7 of these American-made 2 3/4 inch shells. Why am I telling you that? When you purchase your ammunition for your shotgun, you need to be very specific. You do not want cellular and below European-made trash for duty use. You need American-made 2 3/4 inch true high velocity double-aught buckshot. Okay, so not all shells are created equally. Now, what type of shotgun should you be using? Should you be using a 10 gauge? Should you be using a 20 gauge? Should you be using a 12 gauge? The only shotgun you should be using ever for the rest of your life is a 12 gauge shotgun. But Trench, my wife, she can't use it. Well, that's why she has her Glock 26 or her Staccato C2 or whatever you bought her, and she has her AR-15 or whatever she's using, or she has a 12 gauge shotgun such as this Beretta 1301, spoiler alert, and guess what? They don't recoil that much at all, okay? It's a thump. It's not a crazy recoil. We'll get into that in a little bit. But the absolute only type of ammunition you should be using or chambering you should be using is 12 gauge. It's the only shotgun that exists in the world for you from this point forward. Now, let's talk about birdshot. The internet, if you got this far, seriously, hit the like button. Seriously, share it with a buddy. It helps out a ton. Like, I know I say that, but it actually helps out, defeats the algorithm. So, birdshot. Let's talk about candy cane loads. A lot of FUDs, okay, FUDs under attack, shotgun is clear and safe. A lot of FUDs will tell you to load it with a slug, then buckshot, then birdshot. And they'll say, hit them twice with birdshot, and then hit them twice with buckshot, and then hit them twice with slug. And if they're not dead then, you probably can't get it done with 6. You can't get it done at all. Not legal advice. But check it out. If you're using a shotgun, there's only 2 shells, generally speaking, that you should be using, or loadings. That is double-aught buckshot or number 4 buckshot. I generally don't like number 4 buckshot because I want the shotgun to do what it's supposed to do. 9 pellet double-aught buckshot is going to be the most preferred use of your time and energy when you're using a shotgun. Number 4 buckshot is going to give you more spread, but you should absolutely never touch birdshot for any reason outside of the range. If you're using birdshot for literally anything for serious use, you, sir, are an idiot. Okay, let's talk about slugs. Oh, before we get into slugs, let's talk about 3-inch versus 2 3/4. I'm going to save you a lot of time, money, and energy right now with what I'm about to tell you. You're welcome. 2 3/4 is going to give you more shells in the magazine tube. That's probably a good thing. Additionally, 3-inch shells simply do not perform very well. Just because you're getting 12 to 15 pellets does not mean that it's going to perform better. Rest in peace, Paul Harrell has a whole series of videos talking about why 3-inch 12 gauge sucks. Just because 3 inches of Magnum does not mean it's what you're supposed to be using. I'm going to save you a lot of time and energy. 2 3/4. 2 3/4 double out buck or 2 3/4 4-inch shells. Trust me. And if you have 3-inch shells in your gun, go take them out. Use it for training ammo. Put 2 3/4 in. You get +1. And guess what? Now it's actually going to perform as it's supposed to. And the long story short, you have more flyers with 3-inch shells. You have actually not enough more velocity to justify losing a shell. It's a whole thing. I could go on a whole tirade about it. Just trust me. Okay, slugs. Oh boy. Law enforcement are some of the most, they're the most guilty of what I'm about to say. Well, I only want to be responsible for one projectile, so I'm only going to put slugs in my shotgun. Stupid. The shotgun, hear me out, say it with me, shotgun. What does that mean to you? What is the word that I just said? I'll use this cellular and below, for example. There are shot in the gun. Oh my gosh, it's a crazy concept. So you want the gun to be capable of multiple projectiles, unless you are literally using it as a sabot slug, like a rifle in a rifle application at 80 meters, then you should not be using actual sabot slugs or rifled slugs. You need to be using buckshot. It's in the name. It's going to give you more opportunity. Stand by to get flagged. It's going to give you more opportunity to allow that shotgun to do the stuff that it's supposed to do to its intended target, right? So, buckshot, use it. It's going to be better. It's going to be awesome. Okay, now that we talked about ammunition choice, let's talk about patterning. Just because the internet tells you that if you pick up a shotgun and spray that direction without aiming, that is not how it's going to work. Typically, it's going to be 1 inch per meter you get away. So if I were to engage you right now in Minecraft, it would be an exact 12 gauge hole, right? If I were to back up 10 meters, it would be roughly a 10-inch group. But you need to pattern your shotgun. Generally speaking, I do not recommend putting a choke on a shotgun because I want to give the gun every opportunity to perform as advertised at 25 meters. At 25 meters, if I shoot a shell of buckshot, I'm expecting 5 to 6 of those to impact you. But you need to pattern your individual shotgun and figure out where you need to aim with your shotgun. So, generally speaking, slugs only for certain applications. You need to pattern your shotgun at varying distances. It's not a magic wand that you just, load it and start hip firing. Even though you probably would still get a couple pellets on target, you need to actually use the bead on the front of the sight. Okay, next, I want to talk about rifle sights on a shotgun. They're stupid, okay? This shotgun is clear and safe. This is a Beretta 1301. I want to talk about rifle sights on a shotgun. If you have the option to get something that is not a rifled sight and just get a bead sight on the shotgun, 99.99 repeating times, I would say you need a bead sight, sir, because you're using it as a fighting shotgun application. You're not using it to hunt deer. And if you're hunting, I'll just leave that there. But guess what? If you're expecting to only be engaging with slugs, every time, then sure, get a rifled, get rifle sights, but it's going to be a lot slower. I love having a simple front bead sight. This is rifle sights. I love having a simple bead sight rather than rifle sights. That way I just put the bead on the chest, pull the trigger. It's more effective, trust me. This Remington 870 is much faster when compared to the Beretta 1301 in terms of accuracy, just because of the sighting system, okay? So, generally speaking, I do not like rifle sights on shotguns. Okay, we talked about ammunition. We talked about all ammunition not being created equally. Stay away from European ammunition. We talked about double-aught buck being the most preferred. Number 4, buckshot being the second most preferred. Slugs, if you for some reason just can't get any buckshot, slugs, they're going to absolutely do the trick. However, you are going to put a hole through the entire neighborhood with a slug, okay? Buckshot overpenetrates a little bit as well, but 9mm overpenetrates the most, buckshot overpenetrates the second most, and rifles overpenetrate the third. So rifles are not as bad. Shotguns do overpenetrate drywall very easily. So be aware of your intended target and its backdrop. That way you don't accidentally kill the dog or Timmy in the next room. Okay, let's talk about semi-automatics versus pump action. Generally speaking, it's not going to be a major difference due to waiting for the gun to settle after recoil. With a pump action, you should be firing and cycling at the same time. So, say I had this shotgun and I was about to engage. Okay, as I fire, I'm going to do what's called a pull rack. I'm going to engage, and it's already cycled. So simply upgrading from an 870 or a 590A1 to a semi-automatic shotgun, it's not necessary if you train with the shotgun. Again, if I'm going to engage, boom, it's already back in the fight. It's not a big deal. So I would not say, hey, go out of your way and get a semi-automatic shotgun. That would not be my advice. However, if your primary fighting system is a fighting shotgun, then absolutely I do recommend a semi-automatic shotgun, one of three, in this order: Beretta A300 Patrol, Benelli M4, and number one being the Beretta Langdon Tactical 1301 with a Nordic extension out front to give you a little bit more capacity on the shotgun. Of course, this is only a one shell for YouTube purposes, but you guys can get the drift, okay? So now we have finally arrived at what my recommendations are for my go-to-war fighting shotgun. Ammunition. Side saddles are absolutely outdated. You should be using an STAC, ESSTAC side saddle. All that means is that you're going to put some hook pile tape or just simply Velcro, okay? Put Velcro on the side of your shotgun, like really good Velcro, and you can just slap these on, and they come on, they come off as you need them, and that's it, okay? So I definitely recommend STAC side saddles. Get a bunch of them. I have a ton of them laying around here, okay? Get a bunch of them, throw them on your shotguns, and that is how you're going to use them. Let's talk about the actual build. First and foremost, you need an adjustable sling. For a semi-automatic shotgun, a 2-point sling works fine. For a pump-action shotgun, you need a single-point sling, because how are you you don't have a single-point sling? Think about it. Okay, you're gonna go fight. Okay, I'm fighting. I need to load the shotgun. Well, if I have another sling attachment right here, how am I going to load the gun? It's going to be too tight to my body. So that is where single point slings are for pump action shotguns, because it will be attached right here. I can get it away from my body and actually load the shotgun as I need to. General rule of thumb: every time you shoot, you put 2 more in the gun, okay? So if I shoot a few times, I need to put 2 more in the gun. If I'm standing here with my shotgun not doing anything, I'm loading it, okay? So if you're not shooting, you're loading. If you're not shooting, you're loading. Or to just keep it simple, every time you engage, 2 more go in the gun, okay? Always try to put 2 more shells in the gun. Okay, but back to the build. A little bit all over the place here. We're all over the place. We're losing it, chat. Okay, back to the build. So you need a sling. With a semi-automatic, 2-point sling works fine. Adjustable is better, okay? 2-point sling is okay for semi-automatic, but if you have a pump action, you need a single-point sling. That way you can actually use it, because if the gun is slung on you and I have to go to load, it's going to be very difficult because the pump is moving and it's too much, okay? So generally speaking, for shotguns, a single-point sling will reign supreme. What else? A white light, super crazy concept. You want to be able to see, right? So a white light positioned on the gun where you can still actively grab the handguard, with a good grip, and the white light is not interfering. Super crazy. This is just a 1000 lumen Streamlight HL. Works great, like it, whatever. Side saddles, check it out. On the buttstock, if you have additional ammunition, you can do what's called violin loading, i.e. you take it out and you load it like that, okay? Violin loading is great because when I'm loading, threat presents itself, I can present my pistol to defeat the threat, and then I can continue loading my shotgun. Make sense? Okay? So if you practice, it's going to be very effective. And hey, violin loading, if you're still in the fight and the gun is still up, well, you can load just like this, okay? Like normal from the left side saddle. So if I'm in the fight and there's still ammunition in the gun, I'm loading like this. If I'm out of ammunition completely, put one in here, okay? Hit the button, and then if a threat presents themselves, I can simply present my secondary weapon to defeat that threat, and then I will continue violin loading as previously described, okay? All right, we talked about ammunition. We talked about pump versus semi. We talked about rifles. We talked about slugs being kind of, you only really need slugs if you're deer hunting or you're trying to defeat barriers, right? Let's talk about weapons, specialty firearms like this thing. This is a Mossberg Shockwave. It is a firearm. Okay, there's a lot of schools of thought on this. What I'm going to tell you is this is not a shotgun. This is a stageable emergency tool, okay? A stageable emergency tool. However, if you were to say, well, Trench, I just bought a shotgun and you showed me this, I would say maybe go back to the store and maybe get a 1301 or maybe get a Mossberg 590A1 and maybe, this is not going to be very effective because your follow-on shots with this firearm are going to be pretty rough, okay? Yes, I know people have taught the push-pull and people have taught the index. It's all stupid, okay? So generally speaking, this is not a recommend for me outside of a emergency stageable shotgun, okay? All right, so overall, my recommendations are exactly what this thing looks like right now, okay? Violin loading S-Tac on the buttstock, Magpul furniture, Langdon Tactical, Beretta 1301, tape to hold this stupid Magpul. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know, but I shot this thing so much that this fore end started to rattle, so I just duct taped or 100-mile-an-hour tape that thing closed, and that's it. White light, sling, QD point, no choke or anything in the gun, Nordic extension. This is what my recommendation would be for a go-to-war fighting shotgun. For a semi-automatic shotgun, if the tube is loaded, like you can see here, okay, tube is loaded, well, guess what? Just simply reciprocating the action will do nothing until you actually want a shell to be in the chamber. Then you simply hit the shell release, reciprocate the action, and now this shotgun is loaded, okay? So, with all that being said, guys, let me know what I forgot to mention. Let me know if there's something I forgot to mention down below. A good way to tell if somebody has never trained on a shotgun, you're going to see comments of guys saying, single point sling, that's stupid. That is how you know that that guy has never actually trained on a shotgun and that they just listen to the internet tell them that single point slings aren't good. Single point sling is the single best thing that's ever happened for the shotgun, nothing else, okay? So, if you guys got this far, hit the like button, leave your combat llama emoji down below. I've talked a lot, and it's time for you guys to sound off in the comments. Let me know what your go-to-war shotgun is. Let me know what I forgot to mention. I feel like there's something major I forgot to mention. But yeah, I think that's all the stuff, really. Just keep in mind you're ammo limited, so every time you shoot the gun, you need to load the gun, okay? There's two different methods. I talked about that. If you still have one in the chamber, load like this. If you don't have anything in the chamber, put one in the chamber. That way you have access to that secondary weapon, right? Okay. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And until next time, this is going to be Church Grenade, your average shotgun enjoyer that your mom says that we have at home, signing out. Cheers.